Okay, so new high in the SPYs. I remember originally when we were talking about this break here, we talked about gets into this area and try it on the short side for like some sort of pullback. But then after you have more time of digesting these prices, you got to step back and say, is enough time gone by that are people willing to start paying higher prices? And I think that's the case. And so I'm not really as excited about shorting the 302 area as I was a few weeks ago. You know, having said that, if we, went vertical on the open, popped like a quick dollar and change or something, I'll probably bait a little bit just to see the reaction, see if it actually pulled back below 302 and started to hold. So it's certainly possible it can fail there and then kind of work its way back down into this channel that's forming. So that's that. Draghi's talking, or was talking. So we've touched three. I mean, so people are definitely selling there right now, and we'll see where we are at 9:45. But twice so far, held there twice. IWM had a monster move yesterday. It was interesting. It got, I think, 150, got to that 155.20 level right on the open, and then it held for about an hour, and then it was very clean break. So I think a lot of people caught that because that's about as clean as you can get in terms of coming up into the resistance area, consolidating, and then breaking through. And it went straight up a dollar, and then went up another dollar for good measure. So it can be more volatile, or is much more volatile than the SPYs and the breakdowns and the breakups. So right back up to this area where we got crushed from a few weeks ago, 157.5, 158. So I imagine good chance that it fails there and pulls back in and tests this resistance here. So this was 156.60. Here. It's about a dollar off of the pre-market high. So I would look for that scenario to play out. Failure up here comes in for this right there. But still eventually, we've been talking about it for a while, eventually worked its way back up into this. That's that 159.5, 160 level. All right, so this busiest earnings day of the year. Let's start with Facebook. It was pretty wild in the after hours. The numbers were solid, but nothing crazy where you thought justified the initial pop. Considering it's already, it's above 200. We talked about, I think I talked in yesterday's morning meeting, what I said was, if they report a good number, maybe, quick move to 210. It actually, well, the thing about it was it actually bounced during the day from 198 to like 204, 205. So it was already pretty close. 204 I closed the day. So it was already much closer to 210 than I figured. So, but it overshot by quite a bit. Hasn't been able to get back above 210 since it came in. So, and I was not around. I had to leave pretty early yesterday. I don't know what they said here in the conference call to cause it to go back down to a really good buy price. Obviously came down to 198 during the conference call. Anybody who bought below 200 is feeling pretty good right now. You can play this both directions. I usually do, unless it's like a disaster. Well, they never really have a disaster earnings. If it has a really huge miss and a huge raise guidance, then I'm careful on the short. But in a scenario like this, where it's run up a lot, it's near the all-time high, the numbers were solid, but it wasn't like anything crazy. They did get some raised price targets from all the analysts, but I think there's going to be some short trades here. Obviously, the most obvious one is 210. What I put on the sheet. So I put that as R2. And then you have this like 206 where they were buying quite a bit after the initial top right here. They came back down to 206 and they bought right here. If they did a quick flush below it, and then I actually caught that move. They were buying 206, it flushed, and then it quickly popped back up to 208, 209. So this is kind of the starting area, what we're looking at, and then we'll go from there. Obviously, like this is the top, and this becomes like the lower high. It never really breaks above this, and then starts to just kind of work its way down. It could come all the way back down to 202, 204. But I put on the sheet there. Okay. So the main thing is just to be aware. You can try to trade it on both sides. The ATR is $4, so let's say it trades at 1.5 ATR range. We're looking at a $6 range. That right there is 210 to 204 or 212 to 206. So there's going to be a lot of liquidity, good movement. Just don't go too crazy the first 15, 20 minutes where there's less. It's a little bit more volatile and less liquidity. You want to make some smaller trades during that time period. Okay, so Tesla. I mean, certainly the market did not like a couple of things in there. Let's step out and see how much it rallied. And kind of the way I like to do these situations is when a stock is beaten down like this and has a huge rally, like how much of the rally is it going to give back if people don't like the numbers? And so if you look at it in this case, it had gotten up to 232, 233 in mid-June. It broke through there on this on the announcement of the record deliveries, which took it to the secondary price where it failed. And then if we zoom in, and this is exactly what we wanted after the record deliveries, was a pullback into the low 230s. It actually overshot a little bit on this day here below 230, but that was the beginning of this huge uptrend. That area is where you would think like between 230 and let's call it 233, where you would look for it to have a decent bounce from back up to 238 to 240. And then you say, like, does it shake off the news and actually hold up here and crawl back up? Certainly, I think enough people are negative on it for that to happen, thinking it's going to break below 230. And you don't really want to be negative on it unless you get a pop into the 240 area and kind of gets above and fails and then starts to hold below 238. And then that's where I think people would be piling in to push it back down. If we zoom in, again, I know a lot of you, this will be too tricky, so you won't trade it, but I wanted to just cover it. And again, I think I told you guys we were positioned for a move down, basically 245 by 235 with the put spread, so we got pretty much exactly what we wanted. Now we'll see. Yeah, so here was the initial low. It couldn't, so it tried to bounce, couldn't hold above 40. Need the lower, it's lower here. So, I mean, basically, this is your starting range. It's kind of like this. And then in this case, does it overshoot a little bit to the upside and come back inside of it? Does it overshoot to the downside, come back inside of it? And that's kind of how I look at it. PayPal. So PayPal had a huge run. They had a negative reaction. If you look at the revenue guidance lowering for the year, was pretty small, but they did lower it. And so it's a little bit tricky in the sense that bigger picture, it's in this huge uptrend. Every once in a while, it has a decent pullback. This was pretty nasty. That was, I guess, something happened there. It went from 110 to 105 quickly. I'm not sure what that catalyst was. Maybe we did talk about it. But basically, you have this, the same levels that we talked about here, which is, support into the 113, 112 area. It's already bounced from there. It's had a pretty big bounce, actually. And can it retake this 118? Like you'd think it's a decent short here. Will it overshoot and work its way back, a little bit higher? Maybe. Do I think it's going to run above 120? Unlikely. But I'm 20% chance there, probably. Again, it's about the size of the run up, right? It was a $100 stock even in March. At the beginning of the year, it was 80, I think. So it's up 40, 50%. Numbers were fine, but 40, 50%, they lower rev by 1%, 1.25%. It makes sense that it would actually, people would sell some. Would it break through the support here? Not necessarily, but certainly sell into the support, and then we see what happens. I have that support. 113 we have as S3. It's already bounced from there. And so, ooh, that's interesting. Okay, so is Draghi still talking? No. No. Oh. Okay, so we've come off a buck and change there. Yeah, he's okay. So he's still talking. That makes sense. So Draghi's still talking, and yeah, Germany has negative yields on their bonds. So, and so this is a spot. I mean, I would definitely buy into it. I would buy into a spike into here, and then obviously if it starts holding above 301 again, people will buy. So, I'm sorry. I'm highlighting the chart that you guys aren't looking at. I'm highlighting my own chart that I use for trading. So. Anyway, what I just highlighted on my own chart, which you can't see, is this right here. And this right here. Like, yeah, I mean, if you can get a spike into that, it's pretty good. All right, moving on. XLNX. They lowered revenue 3% for next quarter. The stock, it got killed. Was it last quarter or the quarter 2 quarters ago, maybe? Yeah, so this was last quarter. It went from 140 to like 115, worked its way all the way back to 130. You would think that it would be a short here, and that it would kind of maybe work its way back down into this here. But right now, it's not showing that. So let's zoom in. So it had this like really big bounce. It bounced back from like 120 to 126 and a half, 127. And then they rolled it over again and they bought it. And so it's acting like it's going to try to like hit one. Did I have 128 on the sheet? Yeah, R2, 128. And it's kind of acting like maybe it's going to do this. But I think if you can get a good price here in this area here and they're selling it, to play it for a move back down to 124 and then kind of see what happens. That's pretty interesting to me. Triple M is back at an important area. So here, this was last quarter. So it was at 220, came off to 190. You can see this is important. I had bought it there a few quarters ago and had a pretty good bounce from 190. But it took that out and then trended, and now it's gapping back up to 188, 190. So you would think this is an area where people would be selling between 188 and 190, and you could pull in a little bit. So this says 55 EPS, but it should say 5% EPS. Revenue was 2.5, reaffirmed guidance. Let's zoom out a little bit more. And so I wanted to highlight it. So it came off from 240 all the way down here. And so, that's the one thing that it has going for it in terms of if it does take out 190 today and holds above, maybe it works its way back to 200, but just because it is so far off the highs. But that's an area where people should be selling into this.